Well, hello, seniors. It's snowing outside, and it's getting me, I don't know, I'm just getting in the mood for Christmas, huh? As you can tell, look at this great hat. For a Christmas present for you, I'm gonna activate your brain with a song today. Are you ready? You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's been naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming. Santa Claus is coming. Santa Claus is coming to town. Merry Christmas, seniors. Hope you have a great holiday coming up. Now, we have to talk about Christmas a little bit. I have a Christmas present that I'm going to give each of you as seniors. You ready? You're going to laugh. I'm going to give you this gift of seniority. I know what you're saying. Well, what does that mean? As seniors, that's your very name. You get the name seniors because you have been in this school longer than anybody else. You have seniority. I have been in schools where seniors had certain privileges where they got to leave a little early for lunch, or special senior privileges like first dibs on the parking places at school. But this year's been really crazy with COVID. We can't hardly compare it to this year. I'm not really sure if there are any senior privileges for you guys or not. But part of being a senior is supposed to be having your senior year with a few special privileges that none of the other students get because you guys have been here the longest. You've lasted longer than any of them. And you're almost done. So, I mean, if you think about it, you're a couple months away from being halfway through your senior year already. Now, we've been talking about Congress. Now, this is how this relates to it, because you already know there are 535 people in Congress. There are 435 in the House and 100 senators. So you learned that in the last lesson. But all of the important jobs in Congress, chairman of the Finance Committee or the Speaker of the House, all the important jobs in Congress go to members of Congress who've been around the longest. The ones that have seniority, much like you guys. So I was trying to activate your brain with a little Christmas song, give you the Christmas present of seniority. And when you think about seniority, we talked a little bit about it in schools, a little different this year with COVID. I had a question if you guys were here, but you're not. I can show you all the empty desk. But we could even discuss a little bit about, do you believe in seniority in the workplace? Why or why not? I mean, you guys are about to step out into the real world. Some of you will be going out to get jobs. And you're going to hear the same thing from a whole lot of employers. They'll say to you, I really wish I could hire you. I would love to hire you, but you don't have any experience. And of course, you as seniors say, well, how in the world can we get experience in the workplace if you don't hire us? So I like to discuss that with seniors every year. You know, do you believe that seniority is right in the workplace? I remember being a young teacher. That's been many moons ago, because I'm old now, 53. See all the gray? Seniority was the only qualification and basis for any job in the teaching and school personnel. That's been changed over the years, and now seniority is just part of it. But back in the early days of my teaching, seniority was all that mattered. So I would apply for jobs, didn't have any seniority, wouldn't get them. And I always said to myself, I know I can do a better job than some people were doing, but I just don't have the seniority. So some of you guys will fall into that same thing when you get out of college here in a few years, or you get out of high school this spring and get into the workforce, and you're going to start back out. Oh, you're at the top now, you're the big seniors now, but then you can start back out at the bottom, and you have to work your way up with seniority. So I don't know about you. I kind of like seniority now that I have it. When I didn't have it, I didn't like it. So it's interesting to hear some of your thoughts maybe on seniority. Maybe when I get you back in class on Thursday and Friday this week, Monday and Tuesday next week, we'll discuss that. And of course, you know, how does that relate to Congress? Well, all of the important jobs in Congress go to the people in Congress who have seniority. So the last thing in your notes that you took for Unit 3 was immunity, where members of Congress get legal protection while they're in session. So now we're going to go to essential question number 4. We're talking about Congress. When does the congressional session begin and how long does it last? Well, they usually go into session in January, usually sometime in October or after the session will end. Sometimes it lasts a lot longer. I would like to remind you that with COVID, the election, discussion of stimulus packets for the economy and those people who have lost jobs during COVID, all of those things going on right now in our country, that Congress is still in session right now. They have not left. They're working overtime, if you want to call it that, and doing their jobs. Or some of you might argue that they're not doing their jobs, but no matter what the case is, they're still there, they're still working, and the session isn't over. Congress gets to decide when they quit. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great in school if you guys could do that? Like, you're clipping along, you've been learning some stuff, it's almost Christmas, and you're like, I think we've done enough for the year. Let's just call it quits. School year's over, we graduate. That would, some of y'all would probably like that a lot. But Congress decides when the session is over. However, the president does have a special power. The president does have the power to call Congress back for a special session. So I know you might want to pause and get that question down. So let's go back. You can pause the screen right there and get those notes. Now we're going to go into some vocabulary words. Now, we've been talking about sessions for, special session of Congress or congressional session. Sessions, that's just a big fancy word for meetings, or as they like to say in these here parts in West Virginia, meetings. A session is just a fancy word for meeting. It's a meeting. But that's what sessions means. So a joint session of Congress does happen occasionally, but it's a meeting of both the House and the Senate together. That's a joint session of Congress. That's right. That's where all 535 members of Congress cram into the House chamber and have a special joint session, a special meeting. That's a joint session. Now, the next word you might have heard a little bit over the past month with the elections and everything, but it's called caucuses. I can't tell you about caucuses without telling you about me and my cousins. We used to have a tree house. The best way to explain a caucus is to talk about our tree house when we were kids. We had this tree house, me and my cousins. I think my older cousin helped us build it. But we put a sign on it. I don't know, we might have been about 8 or 9, 10 years old, but we put a sign on it. No girls allowed. No girls allowed. You know, we were at that age where, you know, we thought girls had cooties and we didn't want to be around them or anything. Funny how when we became teenagers, we tried to get girls to come to the treehouse with us. Okay, but when we were little, we had the sign out there, no girls allowed. We were the only ones to meet there in the treehouse, us boys, us guys. So a caucus, you know, is where it's private party meetings for each party. So the Democrats have a caucus, and it's almost like the treehouse. You know, they put a sign out there, no Republicans allowed. And of course, on the other side, the Republicans have their caucus, and they got their sign, no Democrats allowed. So, you know, a caucus is just a private party meeting. And I always think of the treehouse when we were kids. That helps me remember it. Maybe it will you too. I don't know. But that's what a caucus is. So let me go back over where you can get it written down. Private party meetings. And of course, Congress's main job, you already know, if you go back up to the top of your notes. Congress is our legislative branch at the federal level, and their job is to make laws. So Congress literally deals with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bills every session. And all bills are proposed laws. They haven't become laws yet. They have to pass their way through Congress. We're going to watch a video later in this unit about how a bill becomes a law. But bills are just proposed laws. They're not laws yet. And each bill is assigned a number to it. Each bill goes into a committee first and then comes before the House or to the Senate. But bills are just proposed laws. This next term is pretty important. It's called the majority party. Now, this is going to take some explaining because the majority party is the political party in Congress with the most people, with the most representatives, okay? And we've just came through an election, but they're still doing some runoffs, believe it or not. As of today, the Senate has 50 Republicans in it and 46 Democrats. It also has they're not independents, that's probably the wrong word. They're 2 third-party candidates that are in the Senate that don't belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. They might be Green Party or Libertarian Party, I'm not sure which. But if you know your math, you know that there are 100 seats in the Senate because each state gets 2 senators. So that's 46, 50 plus 46, that's 96, 98. Wait a minute. Where's the other 2? Well, currently, right now, believe it or not, they're still doing a runoff in a couple of states for those other 2 senator positions. So they haven't officially called those 2 races yet. So if you go back to this, it really looks like it doesn't matter if the Democrats win those 2 seats or not, they would have 48. It still looks like at this moment that the Republicans are still going to control the Senate. It's not my job to tell you whether you should be happy about that or not. That's up to you. That's your own opinion. I'm just giving you the facts. Most of you guys are too young to remember the old 1960s sitcom, not a sitcom, a series, television series called Dragnet. Yes, the police detectives that were on there, they were only concerned about the facts. Please give us the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So I'm just giving you the facts. In the House, if you look, as of today, there are 207 Republicans, 222 Democrats, 1 independent. So if you do the math, that independent's probably wrong too. It's probably a third party, Libertarian, Green Mountain, a different party besides the Democrats or Republicans. But if you add 207 and 222, you get 429. Add in the 1, that's 430 seats. Now you know that there are 435 seats in the House, and each one of those seats are distributed or apportioned out to the states based on the population. So there are still 5 seats that are kind of up for grabs and in runoffs right now in the House. But it's safe to assume, even if the Republicans gain those 5 seats, they're still going to be in the minority. So it's safe to assume at this point that the Democrats are going to control the House. So, which political party holds the majority in all of Congress? Well, you can add those numbers up. It's going to be the Democrats. Which political party right now controls the Senate? The Republicans. Which political party right now controls the House? The Democrats. Which political party holds the majority in all of Congress? It looks like it's going to be the Democrats. Now, Congress is made up of many committees. I just said committees. Boy, this cold weather is getting to my brain. Committees, they're small specialized groups in Congress, and I wrote down an example for you. The Finance Committee. The Education Committee. Let's take the Education Committee, for example. Any bill that's proposed into Congress that deals with education will go to the Education Committee first, and they'll discuss it and talk about it before they bring it to, the rest of Congress. And the last term here, no, we still have two more. The last term here is the seniority system. Leadership positions in Congress are given to the members who've been there the longest. Kind of like senior privileges in high school, which COVID has kind of crashed high school a little bit for you guys. But in Congress, important positions go to people with seniority. The Speaker of the House, very important person in our government. It's the leader of the House of Representatives. This person always belongs to the majority party. Most of you guys, if you've been following the news at all in the past 4 years, or the past couple years, know that Nancy Pelosi is our current Speaker of the House because the Democrats control the majority of the House of Representatives. She's obviously a person who has been in Congress a good long period of time, and she has been selected by her party to lead the House and be the Speaker of the House. And I numbered this one 11A because I left it out on accident on your content map. But it's important to talk about party whips. This might not exactly be what you think of when you first think of party whips, but party whips are political party leaders, usually with seniority, of course, and they go around and whip up support for bills and votes based on party policies. These are your influencers and enforcers in Congress. The party whips will go around and try to make deals. They try to negotiate. If you'll vote for this bill, we'll make sure we vote for this bill for you guys. We'll return the favor. I mean, there's a lot of play. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player. You got to hate the game of politics because politics is a dirty game sometimes. But you have to have people to go around and influence, negotiate, make deals, whip up support, and these people in Congress are known as the party whips. Okay, that's the last of those little section of notes, seniors. There's a discussion post to do in the Lesson 2 folder. That discussion post asks you this question. It says, do you believe that the Electoral College or the fact that term limits have never been placed on congressional members in the Constitution, which one of those two do you believe is a greater mistake in our Constitution? The Electoral College, which ends up electing the president, or the fact that there's never been congressional limits put on Congress, term limits? Let me explain that for some of you who don't maybe understand. Amendment 22, you know that there are term limits on the president. He can only serve 2 terms. Most presidents serve their 2 terms consecutively. There was one president who actually was president for 4 years, then somebody else was president for 4 years, and then he came back and was president for 4 more years. So he served 2 terms, they just weren't consecutive back to back. And that man is right there, Grover Cleveland. You can see his picture is also here, Grover Cleveland. He was president Then Benjamin Harrison was president. Then Grover Cleveland won again later and became the first and only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. But my whole point is, the Constitution has nothing in it that limits anybody in Congress to term limits. They don't have term limits. In other words, a person can keep winning a seat in Congress election after election after election after election, time after time after time. So the discussion post asks you, which one do you believe is a bigger mistake in the Constitution? The fact that the Electoral College elects our president, or the fact that congressional term limits have never been added? And it'll be interesting to hear what your thoughts are on those. The other thing that you have to work on is a little halfway quiz, which just comes from questions of our notes. It asks you how many senators does each state get. It asks you who can call a special session of Congress, who has the power to do that. It just asks questions from our notes that you've been taking and hopefully listening to over the past couple videos. So keep up with those 2 things. Hopefully I will see you back in class very soon. We don't always know what is up with the governor and our county caller and the county caller map and all of that, but hopefully we will all be back in school soon. Until then, I want you to enjoy Christmas shopping, enjoy the Christmas spirit, share the song that I sang with you with other people. If you want to pick up some bonus points, I tell you what, make my day. You guys can sing a Christmas song if you want, and send me the video and let me watch it and laugh and enjoy it, and I'll give you a few bonus points in class. Until then, this is Coach Eads signing off.